Hi, everyone. We're here today with Ilyas, who's a senior solutions architect. For those of you who aren't already familiar with Exponent, Exponent helps you get your dream tech career with our online courses, expert coaching, peer-to-peer mock interviewing platform, and interview question database. Check it out at tryexponent.com. Okay, Ilyas, we're so excited to have you here today to talk to us a little bit about what being a solutions architect actually is like. So for our viewers, would you mind quickly introducing yourself?
Of course. Hi, Angelica. It's great to be here. My name is Ilyas. I'm a senior solutions architect. I have more than 15 years I'm experienced in IT. I've done pretty much all kinds of roles. Started as a developer, technical team lead, manager, and then at some point I decided to go back to doing technical stuff. And so I started to look at a role where I can combine my experience solving problems, technical problems, and working with business stakeholders. And the solution architect role seemed like the perfect role. And, I've been doing that for the past, I would say, 4 or 5 years. And I live in Montreal, Canada, by the way. And as I said, it's great to be here, and I'm really excited to be helping.
Wow, cool. Yeah, I know that like a lot of us are very curious about this role because it's a little bit less common compared to software engineering, actually. So I think a great place to start is, can you tell us what solution architecture actually is?
Perfect. So the role actually sometimes has different names from different companies give the role different names, right? But recently, and especially since the cloud became a little bit, well, give or take, mainstream, we settled, or the industry settled on the name solutions architect. And basically what it means is you will be working with different stakeholders, developers, business, product. So you will be that liaison, that bridge between all these stakeholders. And you will be, for example, taking the requirements from business and getting them reviewed by developers, and then building a plan to solve that, those requirements, and converting them into features. And in doing so, like, there's a lot of, we can probably talk about that a little bit in details later, but there's documents, there's deliverables, there's artifacts, there's a lot. So it's like a position that is, as you mentioned, it's not really known that much comparing to other positions like a software engineer. So I'll be happy to talk a little bit more about that. But in a nutshell, you are solving problems, you are providing solutions, and you're doing it in a way, and your work actually goes even beyond that, because the role of a solutions architect doesn't stop when the problem is solved. You actually accompany the product even post deployment. So you're monitoring what was deployed, for example. You're looking for improvements. You're looking at how to scale that product to the next level. The only thing I would add there is that all these responsibilities are really, really tied to business, are really, really tied to business requirements. Like, you're not working only with developers, and you're not only working with DevOps, and you're not only working with products, you're actually working with all these people within the company to push a feature forward.
Okay, yeah. So it sounds like it involves like a huge variety of skills, and you have to have technical know-how, but also a lot of like business savvy and know how to work with different products and stakeholders as well.
That's actually true. And there's actually a distinction. So when I was at AWS, you didn't need to have a technical background to be a solutions architect. But
Okay.
then, it's like, it depends, because at AWS, your role is more kind of pre-sales. You're there to advise customers. You're there to help them make strategic decisions. You're there to accompany them to the cloud, but you're not necessarily there to build production workloads, right? But then in different companies, so like the company where I work right now, Essence, my role is actually, company developers on day to day, and make sure that everything that is deployed to production is according to spec. So there's some nuance there, but you know what? Having that technical background goes a long way, because one of the big aspects of the solutions architect role is doing POCs and testing technologies on, before even getting to the development period, I would say. Let's say you need to solve a problem around databases. You need to store some data somewhere. So before even you can come up with the solution, you probably will be testing 4 or 5 databases, and you probably will be testing them with different frameworks and different patterns, and probably writing a POC here and using the service and then testing with a different approach. So having that technical background definitely helps.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. And so a lot of what you've described of like strategizing about how to bring a product to market and working with a lot of different stakeholders, it sounds almost like product strategy or product management. Can you tell us a little bit about what might be the difference between these roles?
Of course. Well, the difference is that we take the requirements, from products, and then we try to, there are two types of requirements usually. There's the functional requirements, what's the workload is, or what does it do actually, and the non-functional requirements, which are what it is, right? So I take the non-functional requirements, which usually come from products and strategy, as you mentioned. So I would be talking to product people and I'd be asking them, how many users do you expect to use this new feature in the next 3 months? Okay, how many do you expect it to be, how many users expect to use it in the next 2 years? So that's a non-functional requirement. And then I would be talking with developers and I would say, well, our current infrastructure, what is the throughput of it? How many users that it's, and then getting those two numbers, I would be designing a solution that can satisfy business requirements at the same time with the tools that we have in-house. Because, building a solution that works, that's super easy. Building a solution that can scale, that's a little bit harder, but then building a solution that can be maintained for 10 years, for 15 years, that requires the usage of different patterns. You're using ports, you're using interfaces, you're using plugins, and also building, sometimes what I see is like I'd be working, for example, with marketing, and marketing, they have this idea to, I don't know, build a campaign manager. And sometimes this requirements and these ideas are, maybe they are a $10,000 problem, right? So you need to design a solution that is not super expensive, because it's like sometimes you might just bring a tank to a gunfight, like we like to say, and you don't want to do that. So you want to design a solution that is right sized, that satisfies the requirements, but at the same time, it's not expensive, it's not hard to maintain, it's super easy to scale, and stuff like that. So yeah, basically get functional requirements, non-functional requirements, do a lot of testing, a lot of POCs, build a lot of MVPs, work with developers, and try to build, that solution. And I like to think of, engineering is all about iterations at the same time. So I like to also think about, this is, we're going to build in the first 3 months, we're going to build you a version 1.0. This is what's going to have, it's going to have a throughput of this. It's going to have an availability of 99.9%, which means we are okay if our workload is down for 5 minutes per month, stuff like that. And so I'll have to negotiate this with business stakeholders and products. I say, would you be okay if the product is down 5 minutes per month? And, sometimes you're going to say, why? And I'd be like, well, because if I need to give you all the features that you need and respect the deadline, and I don't want it to be super expensive, then I need to go this certain way. So I'll have to sacrifice something, right? But in 9 months, I can promise you a 99.99% availability. So we work on this on iterations, and a solutions architect basically builds a plan with different steps, and with the goal of finally satisfying all those requirements and building a product that everyone is happy about.
Great. Yeah. And that sounds highly impactful, because it's basically like you're taking the product vision and you're making it a reality, and not just a reality, but a resilient and scalable one,
That 100%. Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. I need to remember this line.
Yeah. So speaking of the technical side, which you mentioned a little bit of, I think some people also get confused between what a solutions architect does versus a software architect. Can you also tell us a little bit about this difference?
Of course. So I would say I would add even more roles to the mix: network architect, data architect, right? And so I would say I work with these architects on a daily basis, because before starting to write software and before starting to, if for example I mentioned the C4 model, right? So one of the layers is the class. So before I even get to the class and I get to architecting the software and what kind of domains and what kind of services and what kind of, I need to architect the infrastructure on where the software will be running, right? And when I'm architecting the infrastructure, well, I need to architect the networking. Do we have an infrastructure that is distributed globally? There's some kind of latency. Let's say our customers are in Europe, but our warehouse is in North America. So, and I need to build, for example, a data ingestion pipeline, right? And get the data, then build a single pane of glass for execs and upper managements, for example, to have an idea about what's happening in the business and everything. So, like there's a ton of things that we need to build before we even get to build the software itself and the application itself. So as a solutions architect, you take that step back and you take all these components. How I am going to structure my data? How am I going to be structuring my networking? Like what kind of regions, what kind of availability zones, what kind of databases I'm going to be using. And then we talk with security, and then you talk with networking. And then when you have a solution, okay, so now we have the infrastructure, now we can get to the software, part of it. And then that's when the software architect's role shines. And that's where we start, talking to them and working with them to make sure that their software can leverage this infrastructure to the max, right? So we can start saying, for example, we start talking, first of all, you want to know the strength that you have in-house. A lot of companies, I don't know, like they spend the last 10 years building something in JavaScript or building expertise in PHP. And you can't just introduce a new technology and say, guys, the best thing to use this is to rebuild everything in C++. I mean, you can, but it's just not realistic, right? Yes. So we start talking with software architects and basically using the tools that we have to engineer the software to take advantage of all these. Well, I work mainly in the cloud right now, so I would say to all these advantages that the cloud provides.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, so you're handling like basically the whole ecosystem of infrastructure that is required to make this product a vision. And it seems like software architects work mostly on just the software component. They really focus on that. But it seems like your role then requires a lot of different skills. Can you tell us about like what types of skills, both hard and soft, you would need for your role?
The role comes with a lot of responsibility, that's for sure.
Yeah.
One question I get also on my YouTube channel is, I just graduated, for example, and I want to be a solutions architect. Can you help me? And I really, as much as I want to help everyone, and as much I don't want to, I want to be what's the opposite of pessimistic? Optimistic. Yeah. Yes. English is not even my second language, so I'm struggling sometimes. As long as I want to be optimistic and push people, I want to tell them, if you want to succeed in this job, you need experience. You need to fail sometimes. You need, because a lot of things, a lot of problems that I'll have to solve on a daily basis, they're not like, we're not talking about rocket science here. We're not sending anyone to the moon. But if your business, let's say an e-commerce website, and then it goes down during Black Friday, even if for 5 minutes, then you lose a lot of money and no one is happy. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes there, and experience plays a big role. And so I would want to start just by telling people, please don't rush it. Yes, you definitely can find someone who can hire you as a solutions architect, like fresh graduates directly from school. But if you want to really succeed in this job, you got to take the time to, well, first of all, familiarize yourself with technologies that are current. And this is a big advantage that's for a solutions architect is to be able to do deep dives, quickly in projects and new technologies and things, and wrap your head around them as quickly as possible. Because sometimes you get a feature from products, they say, well, we want to build a chat, a new chat, a messenger system. And you're like, oh, I've never done any live WebSockets messenger before. So you need to be able to just, I would say, be a quick learner. So being a quick learner goes a long way for solutions architect, which means that, YouTube is your friend. Books, articles. So you need to be able, audiobooks. I find myself spending a lot of time listening to podcasts and audiobooks recently. But it all goes back to, you need to be able to be a quick learner. And the second thing is focus, which is something we've lost a lot recently with social media and all that. The attention span of everyone is, and I'm one of them. Like, my phone is always buzzing, but being able to just put your headphone and focus on one task for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours a day, this is a big advantage. A lot of the time I spend is juggling with all these requirements in my head and trying to find the best services that go with the constraints, and then link them, and then with all these. So you got to be able to really focus. There are definitely tools that help you for that. The other thing is whiteboarding. I would say that whiteboarding is like a soft-ish skill and a hard-ish skill. I don't know where to put it. But it helps tremendously because, again, you will spend a lot of time just with yourself designing things, but you will spend a lot of time talking to a lot of other departments and people. And being able to put everything, like visualize everything in a whiteboard and doing that live interaction and coming up with solutions on the fly. So that also definitely helps. Now, do you have to be a developer? Do you have to have a development background? Not necessarily. A lot of successful solution architects have networking backgrounds, or they have, even sysadmin backgrounds. They're really familiar about how to deploy containers and how to scale systems. And probably they've never written one line of code, but you know what? They know how systems and work, and they work with software architects in order to figure that out. But I would say, yes, you need to have some kind of expertise in one of the big areas of IT, either networking, system administration, development. You need to know the nitty-gritty of how these systems work. The other thing is, the other skill that it's often overlooked. And because it's not sexy, networking is not sexy. You see a lot of these new technologies like Docker and serverless and machine learning. Those are, super sexy. People want to learn them, but the networking, people are like, yeah, I don't want to handle the OSI model. Oh, I don't want to handle, CIDR blocks. But cloud is based on networking. We would have everything we do right now is based on networking. All these concepts that we deal with every day, like I don't know, like latency, for example, like replication between databases, like all these concepts are based on networking. So networking is definitely a must. It should not be overlooked. Now for the soft skills, and please let me know if I'm, digressing, or you want to ask me anything in the meantime. For the soft skills, well, listening, 100%, and asking the right questions. You will be talking a lot of times with stakeholders and customers, and they don't necessarily know what they want. And you got to be able to find the real reason behind it, right? So let's take back our example of writing a messenger application. So let's say you're talking with someone, and they're going to say, hey, we want a chat application to add to our website. And you got to be able to say, why? Like, what is the real reason? Oh, because we want our customers to talk with each other. Okay, but why? Oh, because we want to reduce the time it takes for our customer agents to answer them, and we want them to be able to, I don't know, reach them. Okay, but why? Oh, and after a little bit of digging, you might find out that the real problem is that there are bad reviews on the internet about the product, and most of the reviews say that they can't get a hold of customer agents. So maybe the right solution is actually to, I don't know, hire more customer agents, or keep the ones that you have, give them like better perks. I don't know, like sometimes people, it's a human nature, you know, sometimes we might jump to the solution that seems from first glance the best one. So you got to be able to actually, and that's where experience comes in. You know, you might dig deep into a past experience where you've done this, you've built that messenger before for multiple times, and you've noticed that those KPIs didn't actually move to the right in the right way. You know, that needle didn't move to the, so you got to be able to dig to undig or unbury, I don't know if that's even a word, like that experience, and use it in your current role. So yeah, so there's, you know, listening. Also, a lot of it is, especially when I was working at AWS and I was working with multiple customers. So I wasn't working like today in a company, within a company, and working with business stakeholders. I was working with multiple customers. And a big, I would say, something that is super, super important is the art of presentation, you know, how to present your ideas, because sometimes you'll be meeting with CEOs and C-suite, and you got to present to these people in a different way than you're presenting to developers and engineers. You know, you talk with the CFO, maybe they care about return on investment, they care about how much time they would take to go to market, but then you talk to a developer and they care about other stuff, about resiliency, about how great the solution is from, you know, other aspects. So being able to adapt your speech to various audiences. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you find yourself managing a lot of meetings. So being able to, I would say, you know, have that control the conversation, give everyone their chance to you know, raise their concerns, listen, take notes. Sometimes you don't know the answer because you realistically cannot know everything. So even there, you know, there are better ways than others to handle it when you don't know the answer and still be able to bring value, right? Like something that I tell my mentees when I mentor them is, don't be afraid to say I don't know. For example, when you don't know, don't be afraid to say, all right, I don't know this question, I don't know the answer, let me just take a note. I'm going to take a couple of days, research it, come back to you, right? So I would say, yeah, so those are a little bit, you know, the hard and the soft skills that come to my mind right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess to summarize then, it sounds like it's a variety of things, but to start with, being able to learn quickly, right? Having good strong technical knowledge of computer networks, also being able to ask the right questions, especially when it relates to finding the root cause of problems, right? And then lastly, what was the last one?
Presentation skills, adapting
like
your
communication skills.
Communication,
right?
pretty much, that's it. Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. So that is a wide variety of things. Do you have any tips on how people can pick up these types of skills beyond just experience itself?
Well, you know, you either learn from your experience, or you either learn from someone else's experience. So books, YouTube, honestly.
Yeah.
Audiobooks, articles, platforms like yours, for example. You know, this Andy Jassy used to say, that the CEO of Amazon used to say, there is no compression algorithm for experience. You know, if something takes 10 years to learn, it takes 10 years to learn. Yeah. But I sometimes disagree, because when you read a well-written article where someone takes their 10 years of experience and compresses it into a few hundred lines of code, you know, that's like a compression algorithm for experience, and you could learn, right? So, you know, communities, and also I would want to add, build side projects, or contribute to side projects if you don't want to start them from scratch. There's a ton of them out there, because when you build something, you are the CEO, CTO, developer. Like, you get designer, you communicate, you hire, you get to, it's like a fast track, you know, you get to handle all these aspects of the job, and it probably even it speeds up your learning.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And I like that because it promotes like really self-driven, independent learning, right? And nowadays, with all of the resources on the internet, both from your YouTube channel and from Exponent's like platform and YouTube channel, there's plenty of resources out there. Yeah. Okay. So Ilyas, I think we've learned so much from you today about solutions architecture. Thank you so much for being here. And to all of our viewers, thanks for watching. Good luck with all of your upcoming interviews. Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons below to let us know that this video is valuable for you. And of course, check out hundreds more videos just like this at tryexponent.com. Thanks for watching and good luck on your upcoming interview.